To the next diagram, which is that we live in a little bubble down here of physical reality, but we're surrounded and encompassed by many great levels above us. And so in the future we're promised that the level that we live on will be lifted up and elevated and subsumed in the level above it. The physical reality as we know it will no longer exist. We'll be in an Edenic state where the trees are trees and the fruits are fruits, but it's not like they are here. It's like near-death experiences where people experience the higher reality and they say, there were people up there, I met them, I met my relatives, I saw everybody, they look the same as they do down here, but there was no physicality. And so it's like an upside down concept. We think that this is the real world, and that's the spiritual dimension that's not real because it's not feelable. But from up there, this is the dream. At any rate, diagrams, ideas, flow charts, where do you go with all this? One way is this way. Simple. We live down in the moment. Our moments can become very constricted. We don't know what to do with our moments sometimes. We don't know how to really live our lives to the full. We search. We're all over the place. We're asking for stimulation from everywhere. But the spiritual teachings say, go up, young man. Go up, young lady. Connect to the higher parts of your soul. That's where the great movies are. The best movies are. And then connect, in other words, to eternity. Imagine yourself living as an eternal soul. Imagine what it will be like looking back down from up there, looking back down at our lives down here and saying, whoa, I'm so glad I lived that life. The other way being, wow, I really wish I would have taken more advantage of it down here, right? Because we came down here on a mission. And so the call of the hour is, let's get it together. Let's work together. Let's be what we potentially are capable of being. And so again, it takes information, and I'd like to provide that information, but it takes the ability to sit with that information and to absorb that information and to really know it's not somebody just telling me a bunch of stories. There's something being told to me here which is very important, which is history coming full circle back to Eden. The Bible is not just a bunch of stories, right? The Bible is awesome. And so the events of our lives have to be seen in a larger perspective. And that's what my books are about. And again, it's not just my books because I'm just one little person. But the technology and the return to Eden is a whole theory of how history works. The well of living waters is a whole cosmological presentation of where we come from, where we're going, and what human existence was meant to be according to the Torah, according to the prophetic teachings, and who we are. And it's based on the idea of who we are, when we are, and where we are. Where we are is the world. When we are is the special time that we're living in. But more important than anything else is who we are. We are souls. So I want us to be able to go up and to connect with eternity and to enlarge this narrow opening here where I have to bring my eternity back down into a very constricted moment. But if I do it a number of times, I get better at it, and the space here widens, and my moment becomes completely attached to my eternity. I can live in eternity in the moment, and that's poetry. I can see eternity in a moment. What was his name? Blake. Infinity in a grain of sand. Something like that. Bless you. It's true. So listen, it works both ways. I don't want to just stay up in eternity. I want to come back in here into the moment. Last but not least is that this is what the Shema is all about. Whoa, Shema Yisrael. It's right there plunked down in the middle. It's the middle flower of the bouquet of our prayers. It's God talking to man, and yet it's in the middle of our prayers. Well, wait a second. I thought prayer is man talking to God. How can you put God talking to man in the middle of the prayers? Well, they did it, and they made it the centerpiece. And it's like an interesting thing to think about, how prayer works. Again, another one of my books. Why? Because that's what I think about. That's what I write about. That's what got me to where is to think about these things and to make meaningful sense out of them. So what's interesting here is what we talked about as 5 levels of the soul correspond to the lower paragraph here, in which we go down into Egypt, which corresponds to the nephesh level, my lusts and my desires. The middle level here, which is my heart center, which is the contradictory pulls of my heart, the contradictory pulls. I want this, but no, I want this. What do I want? I'm not sure what I want, right? And up here, and even though there's a lot of conflict here very often, but here, in the 3rd paragraph from the bottom, this head part here is seen to be clear, illuminated consciousness, intellectual clarity. And then there's 2 hats, like a kippah and a hat on top. Again, that's not how we say it. We start here and we go all the way down, right? But the dynamic here is that we start in the heart center. We always start with who we are, with our basic conscious self. We go up into the superconscious, which was what I've been talking about this whole time. We go up into the higher levels of who we are. We connect to the soul roots. And even if nobody is there to tell me yet who I am and who I was and all that, but just enough to know that there is such a thing, that there are higher levels to who I am, and I want to connect to those higher levels. I didn't come into this life with all of me. Zohar says, I only came in with the lowest part of myself, with the most unfixed parts of myself. The whole reason I was born was to fix. When I start fixing, I can start drawing down the higher levels and embodying them. So a lot of what I'm saying is, in a sense, coming full circle. If you remember what I said, it all is really one story of becoming whole, becoming complete. What is more important than that? Than helping others become more complete and becoming more complete ourselves, and being humble about it and thankful and even joyous that we could be born in a generation where we could start to think these things and know them and to really be them in the midst of a world breaking down all around us. Not easy. Who knows what's going to happen? It's better not to speculate. It's better just to live your life to the fullest, to have high values, meaningful values, whether if you have children, for sure, to give your kids the best. And it doesn't mean a lot of toys. The best means the best of you, the best of me. Time, walks, wives, husbands, real stuff, right? So the Shema Yisrael is, in a sense, contains this whole dynamic. If I start here, I go up to the highest part. The beauty of the first sentence is it ends with the word echad. And echad is similar to the word, to the highest one of the words for soul, yechida. They both share that same root. Echad means one. Yechida means the unique, the one, the connection of the soul to God's oneness. That is to say that there's no distinction between me and God at that level. I am one in God. Whoa, Judaism says this, right? And that when I connect to that, and I close my eyes and cover them, and I connect, and I ask in my mind, please let me connect to you. I don't want to only live on the outside of reality. I want to connect to the inside. And you stay there for a little while. You allow yourself to breathe into that. And stop judging whether you're in, whether you're out, or what you're doing. Just allow yourself to be in that place of being with God. And your mind's not going to believe it. So in a sense, you got to leave your mind at the door. The mind doesn't know what to do with God. It just doesn't know what to do with God. So fine, leave your mind at the door. It's not a mental, rational trip. God is not a rationally conceivable concept. So, but you go up into the one, whatever that means at this point, and then you come down, because there's 248 words here, which they say corresponds to the 248 limbs of the human body. Oh, I see. I'm supposed to bring the experience of the one into all the aspects of my life, and even into the contradictory pulls of my heart, and even down into my Egypt. Why is Egypt so important to us? Because this is where the power of the human personality is all deposited. This is where what I'm supposed to do is to bring up the sparks of holiness within the lower